Please keep in mind that the session will be recorded and we will be live on Facebook. So just for security, if you want, make sure that you know this. So if you are talking in the chat will just remain for us. But if you are live and you're talking, if you're on mute and you're talking live, this will be recorded. So just keep this in mind. So I'll repeat, if you're just joining, just introduce yourself in the chat. We are excited to start in a few minutes. Hello Samer, hello Bashar, hello Walid, hello Muhammad. Welcome everyone. Hello Aisha, I hope all is good. Hello Ali. Okay, so welcome everyone, and if you're tuning in from Facebook, welcome from Facebook. We will monitor the chat also in the Facebook chat, so make sure you ask your question. We'll bring them to the speakers if you have any. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. We are happy to kick off our AI for Accessibility Hackathon, and I'll directly give the talk to Dr. Yusuf Asfour. He's the Chief Innovation and Transformation Officer of AUB. So Dr. Asfour, feel free to unmute and take the floor, and you can start. As a disclaimer, just to repeat again, if you're just tuning in, the session is recorded. Please make sure that you stay unmuted, and we are live on Facebook. The chat is not will not be saved, so make sure to chat with us and ask us any question. So that's it. If you want, you can also enable the captioning. So if you have an Outlook, if you want email, you can enable the captioning from the 3 dots. That's it from my side. Thank you so much. And Dr. Asfour, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Larissa. Good evening, everyone. According to the World Health Organization, 1 billion individuals, or 15% of the world population, have disabilities that exclude them from access to education and the workplace. Without actively seeking ways to provide access to people with disabilities, we weaken their potential to connect and communicate effectively. We also limit their ability for independent living, and we make it difficult for more than 1 billion people to have meaningful and productive lives. Although increased use of technology and the shift to online work and education has created new barriers for people with disabilities, rapid advances in artificial intelligence have also created new opportunities and open up new possibilities to make our world more inclusive. Artificial intelligence, or AI, offers huge potential for helping people with vision, hearing, cognitive, and learning disabilities to lead a better quality of life. Examples of artificial intelligence technologies applied to live captioning, translation and interpretation, text-to-speech and speech-to-text, AI-based visual aids such as smart glasses, cognitive hearing aids, and adaptive teaching and learning software, and other solutions are already having an enormous impact in helping people with a wide range of disabilities. Artificial intelligence technology can also be used to assist with dexterity and mobility. Examples of AI-supported physical aids include prosthetic limbs that utilize artificial intelligence to mimic motions of the user's residual leg, making the act of walking smoother and more intuitive. Assistive robotic gloves that allow individuals to perform actions like bending their fingers, rotating and twisting thumbs, grasping, and other movements in their hands. But other applications include AI technologies that connect the brain with the spine and limbs to restore movement for patients paralyzed by critical spinal cord injuries. AI-enhanced wheelchairs that work with bifacial expression and self-driving vehicles and smart homes to facilitate independent living. So as you can see, AI-powered assistive technologies offer significant benefits for people with disabilities, especially in terms of human connection and everyday life. All this is possible through the accessibility tools, digital accessibility, and inclusive design. This is why the AI for Accessibility Hackathon is here. That's why we're doing this. So as part of AUB's Office of Innovation and Transformation ABLE initiative, the Talal and Madiha Zain AUB Innovation Park, in collaboration with the Maroon Samaan Faculty of Engineering and Architecture and the Beirut Digital District, is bringing to you the AI for Accessibility Hackathon. Sponsored by Microsoft and the Meta Innovation Program and powered by Zaka and Beirut AI, this competition aims to rally talent and encourage the regional entrepreneurship community to focus their efforts on innovations related to applying artificial intelligence to increase social inclusiveness. By joining this hackathon, you will get access to workshops, experienced mentors, and prizes that will help you develop your solution for enhancing the life of others into viable product or service. Competitors will be asked to provide solutions in the form of AI-based assistive technology or physical aid, focusing on one or more of 4 areas. Winners will receive cash prizes, an opportunity for incubation or enrollment in one of the Talal and Madiha Zain AUB Innovation Park programs. So if you love AI and care about making this more inclusive world, then this hackathon is for you. Join us in helping us make this a better world and more inclusive world. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Asfour, for your warm words and opening. So now we will go to Mr. Janison. Mr. Janison, feel free to open your cam and take the floor. Mr. Janison co-founded the annual Global Accessibility Awareness Day, GAAD, and we are so happy that this hackathon or this month marks it. So Janison, the floor is yours, and feel free to begin.
Well, good evening, everyone in Beirut and from wherever you are connecting from for this amazing event. When I got an email from Maha and she asked me to come and speak, of course I said to her, who can say hello, who could say no to Maha? I still have very warm memories of visiting AUB and Beirut 2 years ago now. It was in April of 2019, and I look forward to coming back for a visit soon. So my co-founding partner, Joe Devon, and myself want to thank you all for continuing the celebrations of the 10th anniversary of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which actually took place last Thursday. We're so pleased, though, to continue the party, because if there's anything you need to know about me, as serious as the work I do is, and all that stuff, I never shy away from enjoying a good celebration time and extending it out. The goal of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or GAD, is to get people talking about, thinking about, and learning about digital access and inclusion and the over 1 billion people with different disabilities or impairments. And that's the 15% population that was quoted by my colleague who spoke just before me. We cannot believe, Joe, Devon, and I cannot believe that what started as a blog post back in 2011, when Joe had declared, he was a back-end developer at the time in Los Angeles, his father was having trouble with online banking. His father had just, people, fathers getting older, people are losing their sight and their hearing. They don't consider themselves having a disability. They just consider themselves as getting old. But what was frustrating to Joe was that his father could not access the online banking, which all of us take for granted and took for granted back in 2011. So he wrote a blog post, and he demanded that there be a day for developers, particularly, to learn about accessibility, to learn about how to use a screen reader and all of that kind of stuff. And just by coincidence, I happened to be back in Toronto at home on a Saturday night. I know Maha would be surprised to hear that I was at home on a Saturday night, but there it was. I was home and I was trolling the Twitter sphere, and I came upon an automated tweet that came on that said Joe had published this post. Anyway, long story short, we got in touch, and in our first year in 2012, we just called and emailed a bunch of our friends who we knew in different places to run events to coincide with Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And honestly, neither of us thought back then that it might work for that 1 year, but that was it. But here we are, 10 years later. I just returned from Las Vegas on Friday, where I was to celebrate not only the 10th anniversary of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Now I'm going to stand for a second. In the event that there's someone who is visually impaired on here listening to me, if I could ask someone who would be brave enough to type in the chat a description of this T-shirt that I'm wearing. I'm hoping I'm well positioned that you can all see it. But this was a 10th anniversary T-shirt for Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and there may well be some T-shirts headed to Beirut in the not too distant future, um, or wherever else the winner of the hackathon is taking place. I'm going to sit down now. But if someone could write an alternative text description in the chat of the T-shirt, just describing what it looks like. That way, if anyone is vision impaired or completely blind, they will also benefit from knowing what the shirt looks like. So I'll stand here for one more second. I'm assuming someone's typing in the chat. My screen reader is turned off. Okay, I'm going to sit down. Okay, the other thing that we launched on Thursday, on May 20th, the 10th anniversary of GAD, is that Joe Devin and I launched the Gad Foundation. And essentially, the foundation is going to take the energy of the day of Global Accessibility Awareness Day and bring it to a full, like a full year thing. So Global Accessibility Awareness Day is not going anywhere. It will always be on the third Thursday of May. But what the GAD Foundation is really looking to do is to disrupt the culture of the product development cycle for both technology and digital products in such a way that accessibility is a core requirement. So if all of you have a chance today to go to GAD, that's GAAD .foundation, you can learn all about the different programs we'll be having at the GAD Foundation over time. Interesting for all of you to know, as incoming or as future technologists who care about people with determination and making sure that they have access to the technology they need to live full lives. One of the programs we'll be launching later this year is the Gad Exchange. And the Gad Exchange is going to be an opportunity for your average engineer, your average designer, your average technologist to meet with someone who happens to have a disability or an impairment or a person of determination to find out how exactly they use technology. One of the things I've heard, so I've been working in accessibility since 2006. But when I meet with engineers for the first time or designers, they often say to me, gosh, I just wish I could meet someone with a disability or impairment or someone of determination and just find out how do they use technology? Like, how is it do they use an iPhone or an Android device or a desktop like a computer? What do they use? And so we want to help that conversation happen, because if that's part of how we can encourage students of computer science and engineering and design, or up and coming technologists, or up and coming technologists, to better understand how we, and I'm a person, I'm completely blind. I've been completely blind since I was a year and a half old. How we use technology, if that will inspire greatness when it comes to building the technology that's present in our daily lives, then that's part of what the foundation will be doing. And of course, it is GAD and it is a global. So we will be looking forward to working with leaders like Maha and others who are involved in this hackathon over the years to come to make sure that this is a global conversation about digital access and inclusion, and that we're talking to engineers and designers and computer scientists in Arabic as well as in English to cover the community in Beirut and wherever else this hackathon is impacting. So I'm obviously excited. I'm always, like I said, hey, if there's an excuse for me to come out to Beirut, I'll take it. So I'm looking forward to coming to Beirut to talk about the foundation and to find people who are influencers in technology and to get them to be talking about accessibility, because everyone here who's listening to my voice right now, you're already converted. You're already convinced that technology can play a role to better the lives of people of determination. We need to reach outside of this virtual space to everyone else, to all the other technologists in Lebanon who are building all kinds of things. And we need to make sure that they understand that they have a role to play and making sure that accessibility is a first class citizen. It's not only just privacy and security. Accessibility has to be a first class citizen if the entire world is going to be able to take advantage of what's out there. So I want to wish everyone an amazing hackathon. I'm going to be following events and staying close to the organizers to find out what's happening. If I'm asked to come back to celebrate the winner, I will absolutely be there. So Maha and others, just send me a note. If any of you just want to talk about how I use technology as someone who's completely blind, or if you want to know what are people doing here in the Silicon Valley, I should mention that I am head of accessibility engineering evangelism at LinkedIn. So I'm reaching all of you now from Sunnyvale, California. Um, but if you want to know how we're doing it out here, if just you want to talk, like maybe you would just want to know, like how do I get involved in digital accessibility as a full-time career at some point, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me there, Jennison Asuncion, and my name is written down somewhere. You can find it. And you can also find me on Twitter at Jennison. So that's Jennison. And again, if I can encourage you all to check out the Gad Foundation, which is GAAD.foundation. So I wish all of you, again, great luck and success with the hackathon. It's so important the work you folks are doing, but more importantly than that, I demand that all of you take from this experience that you're going to have into your first or your next job in technology. And the first question you are all going to be asking your project manager or your product manager or your engineering manager or your design manager is, what about accessibility? Where is that in the plan? How are we going to make sure that people with determination or disability or impairment can use whatever it is we're building? If I can get all of you to do that, you'll make me the happiest guy around. So thank you very much. Have an amazing evening. I'm just going to hang back here and listen in. And that's it. So I'll turn things over to whoever else is next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for your nice words. And I'm sure a lot of people are inspired now by your talk. And we are so happy that we're celebrating the Global Accessibility Awareness Day in this hackathon. We dropped by your website link and your LinkedIn link. So feel free, everyone, to connect with Jonathan and ask him any question. Now we will go to our, if you want, sponsor talk. And I'd like to invite Mr. Samer Shidia, Mr. Mark Henry, and Mr. Arzu to join the floor, open the cam. Mr. Samer is the Regional Director and Chief Innovation Officer of the Middle East and African region in the Dubai office of Microsoft, of course. Mark Henry is the AI Technical Lead at Microsoft, and Arzu is the Data and AI Technical Lead at Microsoft. So I'll leave the floor for you, and you can take it from there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, everyone. Uh, I will be beginning in just a second. Arzu couldn't make it to the call with us, but we have Mark also. As you can see from the screen right now, there is a live transcription happening on PowerPoint. And that's a very small innovation that is right now available out of the box, part of PowerPoint accessibility feature. It's very interesting how very small addition to a product that we'd use every day can make a huge impact. You see, just this particular captioning, it is actually using so many technologies behind it, from voice to cognitive services to the cloud. And even I can switch to the different languages and I can have me speaking in Arabic and it will be translating in English, or me speaking in English and it's translating in French or whatever. So before I actually introduce the introduction for us for today, I'd like to leave you with a short video to show the accessibility commitment from Microsoft.
Technology can make things easier, but it can also make things possible. More than 1 billion people have a disability around the world. And while some disabilities are visibly apparent, others are not. Today, many report experiencing mental health conditions for the first time. The truth is, most of us will experience disability at some point in our lives, temporarily or permanently. Still, people with disabilities face higher unemployment rates, more than twice that of people without. And only 1 in 10 have access to the assistive devices they need to be active in their communities. The COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated this disability divide, with many experiencing symptoms that are lasting for weeks or months after diagnosis. Here at Microsoft, we've been on a journey to design technology with and by people with disabilities. We're learning every day, and people with disabilities are leading the way. Office features now make it easier for millions to create and send accessible, inclusive communications. More opportunities for improving digital skills and learning are available than ever before, and people with disabilities are preparing for an increasingly digital job market. As the world changes, our approach to accessibility is changing too. That's why we're upping our ambition over the next 5 years. Not only do we want to scale accessible and affordable technology, we're investing in skilling opportunities and talent development and doubling down on our promise to build and model inclusive workplaces. But we can't close the disability divide alone. As communities around the world prepare for post-pandemic life, we want others to join this global cause to make society more inclusive. Disability is a strength, and society is stronger when it's accessible to everyone. And while technology can make things possible, people make things amazing. To learn more, visit aka.ms/accessibilitycommitment.
All right, so innovators, accessibility innovators, you are making our world more inclusive. And it's activities like these, hackathons like these, that fosters those innovations coming from people like you, and they collaborate with others, that makes our world better. My name is Saqib Sheikh. I am the Regional Director and Chief Innovation Officer of the Microsoft Technology and Innovation Centers across Middle East and Africa. If I want to start, it's like looking at the world that we are living in today. We live in a connected society. Technology is everywhere. We are all connected with so many devices, so many things. Actually, technology has elevated the way we learn, the way we live, the way we have fun, the way we play, all of that, all of this has been elevated by technology. Technology provided opportunities and made equality one step up. But at the same time, technology has excluded some people if it is not designed with accessibility in mind. Now, what is accessibility? There are so many definitions for so many people. And if you look at it, sometimes when you go inside a building and you find an area for somebody with a wheelchair, or you are going into an elevator and you find the braille embossing on the buttons, it's not just sometimes the physical area, but it's more also the digital. Sometimes the usage of colors, the usage of alternate text after a photo. It can go so much in ways that you can not think that this is part of accessibility. But in brief, accessibility is creating better experiences for everyone. And it empowers people with disabilities at work, school, daily life. So whether vision, hearing, neurodiversity, learning, mobility, mental health, there are a lot of ways that people with determination, people with special needs, accessibility empowers those people to be more included into the society and to be more empowered. Accessibility is an opportunity and a responsibility. I'm going to reiterate some of the points that were highlighted previously. There are more than 1 billion person having disabilities. More than 1 billion. And 70% of those people, the disability is not very visible. You may pass by them and you don't know that they have dyslexia, for example, that they are deaf, or because not every disability is visible, and not every disability is a permanent disability. You have permanent disabilities, you have temporary disabilities, and you have situational disabilities. And only 1 out of 10 have access to the product that they need. So it is a responsibility for us to actually cater and support that community. And with artificial intelligence, the opportunity is so huge. We cannot imagine even the extent that we can go. And my colleague Mark will be sharing with you slightly what can you do with artificial intelligence, but it is there to help you innovate to serve that big community, that 1 billion. It is also an opportunity because the companies who have policies, have opportunities to be more inclusive, outperforms other companies. They have higher revenues, and I'm talking from a research perspective, they attract more top talent because that culture is a culture that attracts, that includes everybody, and everybody means everybody. That's the inclusion. The diversity and inclusion has proven in so many ways, in so many research, that it is one driver of innovation. So if you want to be an innovative company, diversity and inclusion is a very big key. Now, there are so many things that were originally designed for special needs or for people with disabilities that later on they changed our world. Just a few examples here. The straw. Okay, so we use it everywhere we go to a restaurant, but it was originally designed to help people in hospitals who couldn't drink. The captioning right now, what you're seeing on live, the direct captioning, you saw it on TV before, but imagine the possibilities once you can allow more people to go and watch a live conference with captioning on. The voice recognition was designed, or let's say out in the late 70s, to support, to give comments to wheelchair. And now, with all of the things that we're seeing on our phones, etc., voice recognition is changing everything that we're doing. Now, I'm going to leave you with just a few things. One, if you don't design for accessibility, it's like literally you're saying to every 5th person who walks in your door, I really don't want to do business with you. Now, To wrap up with this, COVID-19 has made a lot of challenges for people, especially that 1 in 5 workers with disabilities have lost their jobs. There are 35% of special needs children are not being able to do remote work, learning because of it's not accessible enough for them on multiple levels. And we're seeing a lot demand on accessible technologies. Now, just when we heard 1 billion plus worldwide, in Middle East and Africa, there are between 150 to 200 million with disabilities across the Middle East and Africa. So imagine when you are innovating today, what are you delivering for them? Now, before I hand it to Mark, you need to become an innovator in accessibility, but also keep in mind that it's not necessarily that you are going to make huge innovations. Any improvement that you can make is actually affecting a life, giving more opportunities to people to do more, to become better, to be more inclusive, to be more included in companies and so on. With this, I'd like to hand it to Mark. Mark? You're on mute.
Thank you, Samer. Just a quick check, everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you, Samer, and thank you everyone for hosting me, and welcome all to the AI Hackathon for Accessibility. Now, in the next few minutes, I want to take you through a couple of things, but I want you to leave you with 2 key takeaways rooted in this quote by Isaac Newton. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Now, the first idea here really to notice is his words, seen further. And this should be where your vision is in this hackathon. And I want you to think out of the box. In fact, a Harvard scholar argues that you should think outside of the building. And what Rosabeth Kanter meant by that was we as humans think in clusters of people who are around us. And essentially, I invite you along with her to think outside of your cluster. The second idea here is the shoulders of giants. Now, Microsoft is by all standards and metrics a giant, and this hackathon is about AI. And AI is very hard to build, but we at Microsoft have really democratized that. And that democratization should leave you feeling empowered. Our work simply means that you could now build on top of our algorithms, and that means basically standing on the shoulders of our researchers, and that should enable you to go further than where Microsoft has gone. And to really illustrate this, I want to share the story of Saqib Sheikh, who used our technology to impact his own life and the lives of other visually impaired people. So here it goes.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7, and shortly after that I went to a school for the blind, and that's where I was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response, and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see 2 faces. 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised. 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take
feels like to this issue of accessibility feels for people who live it every day, the heroes who live it every day. We heard from Jennison when he was a year and a half old. So I just salute all those heroes actually who deal and persist through this accessibility challenge. And I just cannot imagine how difficult it must be when they have to deal not only with normal accessibility challenges, but accessibility that have gotten magnified in this pandemic and those financial crises that might have hit many countries, and even magnified more for people in Lebanon and people of conflicts like Palestine. So I just salute everybody and wish everybody a successful hackathon. Now let me move forward to actually a few of the AI at MSFEA and AUB. Many of you may know, but I'm just going to share so that everybody's on the same page. We have very high quality education in artificial intelligence presented at AUB, multiple courses coming in the form of tracks and minors in the artificial intelligence. Many students are going through these programs and finding themselves with excellent internships and job opportunities. We also have graduate programs at the master's and PhD levels that go into artificial intelligence and data science. A side note that there's also programs outside of MSFEA. So there's other programs in undergraduate and graduate programs, for example, in the computer science and in the business school. We also have world-leading research in artificial intelligence. I'm going to show you a few examples in a second. But we have received funding and recognition regionally and globally of particular examples, AI in agriculture and healthcare, and AI that's very relevant to the region. And I heard from our colleagues earlier the accessibility issues with Arabic-specific challenges. The third dimension that AUB and MSFEA is interested and invested in is entrepreneurship and startups in technology and AI. So let me just briefly walk you through these examples. So for technology, AI in technologies, there's a lot of research examples on the right side. Multi-agent systems, autonomous delivery, hardware and software for making AI and machine learning faster, models and resources for Arabic NLP and conversational models and chatbots. There's a lot of effort with the presence of AUB MC here on campus in this interdisciplinary research where we work closely with our colleagues in the medical discipline. Examples include COVID-19 tracking, cardiovascular disease prognosis, many imaging technologies, survival prediction from CT scans. Mental health has been also of particular emphasis, working with the psychiatry department and psychology professors. On the social media analytics, there's also several efforts that have gone, and some of them are actually hackathon, in terms of understanding people's opinions and sentiments in social media and how you detect fake news and so on. Now, MSFEA not only is, driving its own agenda and research and teaching, it's also a very critical part of AUB's vision as a whole. So we at MSFEA are a key member of what recently got launched, the AUB's Hub of Artificial Intelligence, Data Science, and Computing. And I'll just, navigate to that site just quickly for those of you who get interested later, just to tell you what it looks like. This is if you go to that website, this is the hub that AUB has brought together what constitutes initiatives today at AUB in this field of AI, data science, and computing, and computational science. The first landing page has a nice video. You can watch it later. It's got a mission of the hub, and then it's got 5 other side pages. In particular, I want to highlight the research, education, and get involved page. If you go under the research page, you will see the different focuses within AUB. So you'll see a focus on machine intelligence and robotics, computing, stats and math, business analytics, health, life sciences, social sciences and ethics, and then physical and earth sciences. If you click on any one of those, you'll go further into the faculty members who are working in that field. So if you are interested in working with any one of them, or you want to know what they're doing, you've got the link to these faculty members that you can access. Let me go back to the slides to continue with this. So there was a formal launch event, I think it was like about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's meant to be a launching pad for more initiatives in the field, more on the site. So the initiatives forward are multiple approaches. One of them is looking at the future strategic initiatives and directions for AEB as a whole, and AI will have an important piece of this. Data collection and warehousing to capture knowledge and facilitate research for scientists will be another initiatives. Developing online diplomas and degrees in the field. There's already a lot of initiatives within MSFEA and across AUB in this direction. The School of Business also offers some business analytics in this direction. There's adding a data science component, into the general education. And in terms of entrepreneurship, I want to highlight that MSFEA and the AUB as a whole is having a strong push. This hackathon that we are in today is one such example. We want to promote entrepreneurship and startups. We want to promote education. We want to promote people going and finding jobs, but we also want to promote creativity and entrepreneurship. It's important for students. It's important for the economy. AI in particular has been gaining importance, and AUB as a whole has been investing in this. MSFEA has multiple programs. Ms. Muna Aitani here is with us, is leading many of the MSFEA initiatives, and I'm sure she'll mention some of it. This hackathon, like I mentioned, is part of it. OSB has several initiatives. The iPark that Dr. Asfour introduced at the beginning, that's sponsoring this whole event, is also a part of it. So we encourage you all to consider these options as part of your careers and futures. Very rewarding, but it requires a lot of dedication and resilience to go that path. So I conclude with thanking you all and welcome you to the hackathon. And I call upon you to make a difference. I'm sure you will, and enjoy the hackathon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hazem. It was a really nice presentation. And thank you, AUB, for not just supporting the Lebanese community, but for also supporting the MENA region talent. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Hazem. We will now go to our next speaker, Mr. Ralph Khairallah. He's the Community Growth Manager representing BDD. So Mr. Ralph, feel free to unmute and take the floor.
Thank you, Larissa. Hi, everyone. Glad to be part. We're very happy to be part of this event as BDD, and I'm personally very happy to see all the familiar faces. As partners with the Talal and Madiha Zain AUB Innovation Park, this is something very, very dear to us. Because technology is at the core of our mission as BDD, as a cluster for technology and innovation. And what better way to use technology and innovation than solve such problems or such challenges as a disability hackathon. It's something that we are really proud to be part of. And we wish all the participants all the best, and hope that this is a very successful hackathon for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ralph, and thank you, BDD, for also helping out in this hackathon. I'll now go to our orientation, and if you want, program kickoff presentation, and this will be done by Dr. Muna Itani and Ms. Maha Zwayhed. So feel free to unmute and share your screen, and you can finally kick off maybe everything about the hackathon and the eligibility. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Larissa, for driving this event so far. I'll present myself, then I'll let my colleague Muna also present herself. I am Maha Zwayhed, Business Development Manager at the Office of Innovation Transformation, and I also support the iPark operations. Dr. Aitani, would you please?
Yes, thank you, Maha. Hello, everyone. We are really glad to be partners in this AI for Accessibility Hackathon. I am the coordinator of the Entrepreneurship Initiative, a senior instructor of innovation entrepreneurship, and a social entrepreneur myself.
Muna, how about we share our slides?
Yes.
I'll do that.
Meanwhile, waiting, please make sure to ask any question in the chat regarding the hackathon, and we will be supporting you. The team is supporting the chat. And if you are tuning in from Facebook, also you can ask your question. Our team is also supporting there.
Can everyone see the screen?
Not yet from my side. Okay, maybe it's lagging. So, Dr. Muna, Aitani, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see it. I don't know about the other.
Okay.
Now we can see it. Great.
So welcome to our AI for Accessibility Hackathon that we are organizing along with Maroon Sam'an Faculty of Engineering with the support and help of Beirut Digital District, MADA Innovation Program, and the sponsorship of Microsoft. Also powered by Zaka and Beirut AI. I see there's a lot of people here wanting to support technology to promote social inclusion. So this hackathon is aimed to for regional development of innovative entrepreneurship, community related to artificial intelligence, while also increasing social inclusiveness. The hackathon participants are called upon to find solutions either in the form of assistive technology or physical aid that is AI based to help accessibility and social inclusion. This event also marks the 10th anniversary of the Global Accessibility Awareness Day in Lebanon. So this month, many activities are taking place all over the world to celebrate the Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And this is our activity in Lebanon. If you go to their website, globalaccessibilityawarenessday.org, you will be able to see the activities all over the world, including Lebanon. Dr. Aitani, I'll leave it for you to explain this part.
Sure. So in this hackathon, we are expecting you to work on one of two tracks. The track I'm going to be talking about is about assistive technology. So as you all know, we really need to make sure that 21st century technology, especially in this era of pandemics and of digital transformation, is inclusive to everyone, everybody with different mental and physical capabilities, basically, and abilities. This is why we are here listing some examples or some options that you might want to think about. As you can see today in this meeting, we have live captioning, Also, when we talk about digital books, we need to think of audiobooks, for example. We think about translation, interpretation, text-to-speech, AI-based visual aids, smart glasses, such as the ones shared by Microsoft, Saqib Sheikh, cognitive hearing aids, sign-to-text, adaptive teaching and learning software, and so on. We definitely are not presenting you with an exhaustive list. However, we do encourage you to do more research on your own and see if assistive technology could be the track that you're more interested in.
Track that you could participate in is the to develop a physical aid solution. Examples of these may be AI enhanced wheelchairs, self-driving vehicles, voice-based technology for smart homes, and Dr. Asfour also listed in his opening keynote a list of technologies that could also be AI-based and serve as physical aid. I also like to particularly mention the smart limb, the one that allows a person with an artificial limb to move naturally while the artificial limb learns the movement of the body. So these are examples. As you see, there's a lot of room for this, a lot of research online. I highly encourage you to check it and bring us a new solution.
So what we really expect from you is that regardless whether you will choose the first or the second track, you will be contributing to one of these 4 verticals. So you might be actually contributing towards better education of people of determination or people that need this accessibility. You can even be contributing to better employment opportunities or even to making their employment experience or workplace experience better and more inclusive. Moreover, it could be that you are improving how they're living at their home, enabling them to have a better and a more independent living where they can also benefit from like the newest technologies that we have nowadays in this 21st century. And finally, you may be focusing on the community aspect of this hackathon and really improving how the community is embracing, getting more inclusive to people of determination, and really creating this inclusive different communities that will be embracing of people with disabilities.
So how do you join the hackathon? Well, you have to gather a team of 2 to 4 participants from the MENA region. You can be from one country or you can be from multiple countries, it doesn't matter. You must have in your team at least one AUB affiliated member. This member could be a student, a graduate student, staff, faculty, alumni, and if you happen to have an idea and a good team and you still need an AUB teammate, you can reach out to us to help you find your match. Also, if you are an AUB member and looking for an innovative team to join for this hackathon, also you can reach out to us so that we can do the match. Then you need to find an accessibility problem, a use case, and use AI for creating an assistive technology or physical aid solution for this problem. Once you have this done, your idea is mature, you can fill the application form found on the hackathon website. I'm sure the ladies here are adding it as we speak now to the chat. So how do you find the AUBite team member, or how do teams find each other in general? Because it doesn't have to be an AUB, non-AUB match. It could be also a skill set match. Since we have, 3 types of skills that you might need in your team. You need the technical skills, you need the little bit of inclusion and accessibility experience, and the business skills. So what you can do is to go to the LinkedIn event mark yourself as an attendee so that you can, have access to that chat. And on that chat, put your post stating what you need in a way descriptive enough for interested people to know what do you need and get in touch with you. We will also help you. You can send us an email, and we can do that if you don't succeed to find your match on that chat. We have a whole range of student clubs across universities in the region working together to match teams together. And this is another fun part of this competition, the collaboration across countries. So we are really, really looking forward for that, and for people to meet each other and collaborate, and for talents, to come together. And also, if you are an AUB member that would like to participate in the hackathon, but you're not sure which team to join, also please join the event, put your post on the chat so that other teams can find you. And of course, make sure you fill the registration form after your team is final. So what's next? June 4 is the application deadline for the hackathon. Then there's a first round of screening. After that, there's capacity building workshops, a variety of technical and non-technical workshops to help support the background for developing the solution. After that, the semi-finalists will be required to submit a video pitch by June 20. And then the actual hackathon will take place on the last 3 days of June, June 28, 29, and 30. And on the last day, of course, we'll be nominating the winners. We will be having 2 winners from each track. So we will be having 2 winners for the assistive technology track and 2 winners for the physical aid track. Muna, would you like to brief them about what we look at in the evaluation?
Yes, of course. So basically, we have different evaluation criteria. Of course, we're going to be sharing this in more detail at a later stage. We really look for innovation. As mentioned earlier, we're not looking for breakthrough innovation. However, for some kind of innovation, and there are multiple kinds of innovation. So as long as it is somehow innovative, that's fine. We look, of course, at the impact. How are you improving the lives of people with disability in one of the 4 verticals we talked about? Is your presented solution sustainable? Do you have a clear plan on how to continue with it? Is it an effective solution? Does it really solve the problem that you will be talking about in your pitch? And do you have the right team with the right skill set in order to take this forward and to execute it? How feasible is this solution? And does it have a sound social business model? What have you done with your prototype given the hackathon lifetime or span? Is there how well do you rate on technical validity? Are you using the right kind of technology in the right place? And finally, did you think of different ethical constraints of inclusive design and so on in your solution? So in order for you to really know what kind of team you should be looking for, as Maha mentioned, definitely we need 1 or 2 of you to be in the team from a technical background. So you are familiar with artificial intelligence, data science, data analytics, coding, etc. Also, you should have at least 1 person with some kind of business background, or maybe this business drive. You don't have to be from a business background, but you need to have this mindset to be able to do research, to be able to understand the opportunity and to put together a business plan. It would be recommended also to have people with some design skills, especially UX, UI, and inclusive design skills. Definitely, we need people that are familiar with the inclusion, accessibility domain. You do not need to be an expert yet. You have to have somebody in the team who is knowledgeable about it and is very enthusiastic about this area. And finally, you can have other people who are good at PR, public speaking, presenting, marketing, and so on. So these are just a few tips, but definitely you need to have technical, the business, and the inclusion/accessibility awareness. And a few more tips on the next slide. Is that we definitely need you to exercise empathy before you select or decide on the solutions that you want to work on. So make sure to talk to people with disabilities, make sure to do a lot of research. I always say like research. This is very important. We need you to have a very good understanding of the problem before you jump into the solution that you would like to implement. And we know that a lot of you, especially like the techies in the room, you will be very excited about implementing a certain technological solution. But before you do that, you really need to know whether this will address nicely the problem that you want to solve. This is where you need to look up use cases and really be able to demonstrate why this technology is adequate and why would it really improve the livelihoods of the beneficiaries, how would it allow them more accessibility. And this is where you have to have this continuous conversation with your end users who are the beneficiaries of your projects, of your solutions. And we totally encourage you to get inspired by what's already out there, whether it implements AI or not. So you can, for example, look at some typical conventional solutions and see whether we can add AI in order to make it better and to improve accessibility. And some other times you can see maybe how AI is not inclusive and try to make it more inclusive. So there are many ways to look at this. And definitely we do not encourage you to reinvent the wheel. Do exhaustive market research, understand what's out there, get inspired, and then definitely fill the application form.
So all I have left is to once again thank you Microsoft for sponsoring us and Meta Innovation Program, and the Faculty of Engineering for partnering with us to make this happen, Beirut Digital District, and thank you for Zaka and Beirut AI also for supporting this event. I'm looking forward to see you all on board, to see you all participating. Can't wait to see you learn, hack, and win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muna and Ms. Maha. So thank you for this presentation. I hope everyone got all the requirements needed so for you to join. Make sure you check out all the links that we sent in the chat. I also sent now the main website link, so you have all the, if you want details of the hackathon, make sure you check them, join the LinkedIn event, and ideate with other people from the MENA region. So you don't need to just ideate with people that you know, you can connect with other people and have a diverse team. So thank you. If you have any question, you can also email us or talk to us in the chat, and we will make sure to support you. Now we still have 2 more sessions, and I'll leave the floor for the Accessibility by Design talk from Inclusive. Saira and Ms. Saba, you can take the floor. Yes, so thank you everyone, and we still have 1 hour, so stay in the session.
Thank
yes,
you.
Saira.
Larissa, thank you for inviting us. We at Inclusive are really grateful to be invited today. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Inclusive Accessibility Design session. I have with me here Saba, my colleague. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Saira, and I work as a business development director for partnerships at Inclusive. I identify myself as a proud person of determination. Person of determination is a term that you are going to be hearing from me and Saba during this session, because it is a term that we use here in UAE. It is a term given to people with special needs or people with disabilities. And I am a person living with mobility differences. I use a wheelchair. And now I'd like Saba to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Saba, and I'm the front-end developer and technology projects lead at Inclusive. And I'm really happy to be here today. So let's get started.
Absolutely.
So Saira, I want to ask you, what is Inclusive? What's your what do you exactly do at Inclusive, and how is it working out for you so far?
Thank you for that question, Sabah. So I'll start by explaining to you what Inclusive is and how it started. Hafsa Qadir actually conceptualized Inclusive platform in 2019. Inclusive began in a heart and mind that views the world through a lens of equality and social justice. Learning through her brother Ahmed Qadir, a talented person of determination who lives with spina bifida, Hafsa learned through real-life experiences that any disabled person is only limited by societal, institutional, accessibility, and financial barriers. Hafsa observed her mother, a single parent, her siblings fight for Ahmad's right to equal emergency care during earthquake drills at school. She noticed the hardships her parent faced during hospital visits. She recognized that first reaction of teachers, doctors, caretakers towards any activity that Ahmad wanted to participate was lined with barriers created by stereotypical perceptions of people with disabilities or general lack of accessibility. She started to imagine a world where any single parent would never feel alone and could own means of connecting with other like-minded people anywhere in the world. Hafsa dreamed of a world where people like her brother recognized their own talent, skills, and abilities. She started to actually draw sketches of an online hub of inclusion, a mobile app where people come together and share view from the lens that people of determination are equal. She started to share this accessibility at every platform, and she created an app. She dreamed of an app and named it Inclusive. Today, Inclusive is an app that connects all people of determination to jobs, events, and opportunities. What I do at Inclusive is I build relationships with B2B, B2G, and startup partnerships. These partnerships are keeping in mind not only raising awareness about inclusion of people of determination at a workplace, but also in products and services. It's not only raising awareness about them, but to action them as well. These partnerships, which I create, play a major role, as these are with departments of HR and communications. These departments are direct decision makers about the impact of hiring and spreading a message of equal opportunities for people of determination. So, Sabah, now it's your turn to answer some questions. And what I'd like to know is, what does your work at Inclusive look like? And why is it important to take accessibility into consideration when someone is creating a product?
That's a really good question. So talking a little about my work at Inclusive, it's challenging yet exciting at the same time. It involves a lot of coding, and I work on different features. So my work involves making sure that they look good, and at the same time, they're functional and usable by all. So when designing a web page or a product, if you don't take accessibility into consideration, you have successfully ignored your users. I would like to quote Frank Kimero here. People ignore design that ignore people, and we really don't want that. Since 15% of the world lives with some sort of disability, which is approximately 1 out of 7 people, it is our responsibility as designers and developers to embrace accessibility. So a product that has been designed while keeping all range of accessibilities in mind ends up being a better product for everyone. So moving on, Saira, can you please share a little bit about your journey with equal, or should I say unequal, job opportunities?
Sure. So let me begin by sharing with my personal experience before this employment of mine at Inclusive. So previously at my work experience, as I shared, I live with a mobility difference, and it didn't allow me to use a regular washroom. And I requested my employer to allow me an accommodation by having an accessible washroom at the workplace. But the employer thought that, without any research or anything, that allowing a person of determination to have an accessible washroom only for one person would be expensive, and I didn't get that opportunity at my workplace. Unfortunately, the organization closed down after 3 years, and I stopped working at it. What I thought then was, instead of me asking for a change in the workplace, maybe I could ask them to accommodate from home. And it was not the pandemic, it was pre-pandemic, and it will go down in history that during the pandemic, everyone was working from home. You and I currently are joining this session from home. And it literally had to take a pandemic for people to change their mindsets about a work from home accommodation. And I started my journey with Inclusive with a work from home accommodation in 2019. And today I am leading the business development side and still working from home. So Sabah, I'd like to share my screen and show how I make the connect for people of determination through the platform. And while I do share my screen, while I go through the tabs and find them, what I want you to share is, what is your favorite feature of the platform that you've built?
Yeah, sure. So the favorite feature on the Inclusive platform is, I think, easily the ASL reactions that we have. It's just the ASL equivalent of the normal emojis and reactions that you see on the other platforms. And it's just sign language depictions of different emojis like happy, sad, angry, celebrate, that you'll just get to see in a minute. But they're easily my favorite feature on the Inclusive platform.
Okay, let me know, Sabah, when you see my screen so that I can continue.
Yeah,
is it still loading?
Yeah, it's still loading. Okay, yep, we can see your screen.
So these are the emojis that you were speaking of. It's still loading, because it's a little heavy. So these are the emojis?
Yes, exactly. These were the ASL reactions I was just speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice way of spreading a little awareness about ASL and how people with hearing differences would normally use a sign language to communicate and interact with each other.
So these actually represent people with hearing differences as
well. Exactly. So I think it's a nice little gesture for them.
So Sabah, do share with us how did you build this platform, keeping in mind universal design, the accessible design principles, and what are Wcag? What is WCAG?
Absolutely. So WCAG is short for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. That represent a single shared standard of web accessibility. So it's essentially a set of rules that basically tell you how you can fulfill the design principles in order to make your web content accessible. So it covers everything, right, from the right font to the minimum acceptable contrast ratio. So moving on to the accessibility by design principles, which you have 4 main ones. The first one being content should be perceivable. So this means that even if a person has, for example, is visually deficit or has difficulty hearing, the content should still be clear and usable to them. So keeping this in mind, I have used colors throughout the platform that satisfy the WCAG minimum contrast ratio requirement. And there's a really good contrast analyzer tools to check the contrast. Then I've used sans serif fonts throughout the platform as well, which improve readability for really everyone, but especially for people with different learning differences, like, for example, dyslexia. And I would also like to talk a little about alt text for images, which is essentially an image in words. And why are those words important is because those words describe what's going on in the image. So a person, for example, using a screen reader would be able to know what's going on in the image without having to actually see it. So then we have another thing which which are ARIA labels, which is basically labels for functional components such as buttons. So what an ARIA label on a button would do was it would actually tell, again, a person with screen reader what the button actually does without them having to click it. So this actually leads to an equal user experience for a person regarding their ability. So moving on to the second principle, which is content should be operable. So here you need to ask yourself, can any user, despite their different abilities, operate and navigate through your site? If the answer is no, then I think you have a lot to focus on, because not everyone can use a mouse. So there needs to be an alternative way to use your site. To ensure this, I have made all functionality fully accessible using a keyboard. So keyboard navigation is really crucial for accessibility. Then moving on to the third principle, which is content should be understandable. Content needs to be presented in such a way that it avoids confusion. So I have tried to achieve this on the platform by having a predictable, consistent structure using very clear, simple language that's easy to understand. If you can see, there's a lot of white space that we're using here. There's almost no clutter. So it's very easy for a person with, for example, autism to really focus on what's important here. I have also completely avoided the use of pop-ups and any flashing content that might be brutal for a user who reacts negatively to excessive stimulation. Like it could actually lead to seizures for, again, people with different cognitive differences, like people with autism. Then lastly, the fourth principle that I want to talk about is that content should be robust. This is also super important because it means that content needs to be compatible with a vast majority of browsers, with different devices, with different forms of assistive technology, such as a screen reader. So all these things, all these four principles kind of come together. For example, if you miss out on making your web content accessible by a keyboard, or you miss out on alt text or ARIA labels, this would mean that a visually different person using a screen reader wouldn't really be able to use your website. It wouldn't really make sense to them. So it's really important that you make sure you're keeping all these abilities in mind when developing, to ensure, again, that it's a similar user experience for all the users.
So would it mean that following these principles is not only beneficial to people of determination, or say people with disabilities, right?
Right. So it's a common misconception that these accessibility fixes or following the accessibility principles only benefits people with disabilities. Actually, working on making your product more accessible not only benefits people with disabilities, but it makes your product better for everyone else as well. So an example that I would like to add here is of closed captioning for videos. So generally, we would like to think that it's for the benefit of people with hearing differences. But the fact is that it also helps people or users using your product in a loud environment, like a subway, or someone not that well versed in that specific language. So it's going to benefit that person as well. So really, like, all these things are going to benefit all your users.
Absolutely, and that does make sense, that allowing an equal user experience and equal opportunity to use the platform.
Yeah, it's definitely crucial. So, Saira, can you please tell us, how do we use the inclusive platform for hiring purposes?
Absolutely. So I'll share with you the app and how inclusive platforms allows hiring of people of determination. So I'll give you an example of a job role that a person or an organization could be looking to hire. Let's say Inclusive is looking to hire. I've added a sample here for everyone to see. And let's say Inclusive has an opening for a graphic designer who they are looking to hire. So what a person can do is, if they want to add a job, they can add industry, the employment type, the experience level, the location. What required is skills and education, what they would like to add, the perks and benefits. And I will share about accessibility accommodations that the Inclusive platform allows an employer to add the accommodations, and these accommodations can be added in an automated way. The description of the accommodations is given for the user here, and let's say that they want to hire a graphic designer in their organization. So instead of thinking of who to exclude, an employer can think of who to include. For example, if they would like to add closed captioning in the virtual meeting software, what that will make is make this job description accessible. Let's say that Inclusive has an office and they want to make it accessible. If they are using closed captioning in their virtual meeting, it makes a graphic designer's work very, very easy to follow it during a meeting. I'll give an example of Microsoft Teams. If you're logged in from your Microsoft account, you can choose the option to allow live captions. You can interact, you can read, you can interact with the chat with your team members. Automated instant messages is also available on the Microsoft Teams, and that will also allow you to interact with the employee. If your workplace has accessible washroom, you can add that. Addition of ramp, or if you have a lift in your workplace, you can add that. And having wider doorways and corridors will aid a person using mobility aid who is enabled by that to actually come into your office space and contribute to it. So I'll also like to share how the disclaimer of the equal employment is also open for people who want to employ people with determination, people with disabilities. Let's say it's not Inclusive, it is XYZ. So instead of Inclusive, it will give automated options for XYZ. At XYZ, diverse inclusive culture is vital to their mission and offer opportunities for all abilities and backgrounds. What I'd also like to mention here is accessibility is not one size fits all. Every person's needs and requirements are different. So to keep that open conversation with the organization, if a person of determination would like to request something, this mindset of open conversation will also allow a person to request for accommodations if required. So this is how we do the...
So I think by adding in these accessibility accommodations as well as the disclaimer for equal employment, I think it's a very welcoming gesture for applicants of all abilities, right? And it also shows that how small changes that they can make to their workplaces ensures that a person with a different ability can still be productive, can still work really well, just as any other person would.
Absolutely. You know, people usually think that there's too much to it, but if started with accessibility, it definitely leads to inclusion.
Okay, so what if someone in the audience right now thinks that they may have a job, but they don't really know how to approach a person of determination for it?
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and answer that question. So
yeah, sure.
What someone from maybe listening to this session or listening in the audience can do is assess the job description that they want to put out. Think of it in a way that is not discriminatory. Assess the job description first of all, ensuring that it is not leaving out anyone. And after that, if they would want, they can sign up to the platform, create their organization profile, and they can start posting on the Inclusive job portal.
Amazing. So is it actually that easy?
So the journey of accessibility and inclusion, like you shared how a platform can keep on building, same, it goes for inclusion for people of determination. You start with hiring one person of determination. If you're not, really very confident about how they will do teamwork, maybe hire them for a part-time job. If you still think that you won't be still comfortable, invite them to intern, allow them to come in for hourly basis, allow them to come on project basis. And that is how, people of determination can easily be integrated in a workplace. What,
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I think this would actually lead to this amazing realization that a person of determination can perform just as well like any other candidate, just given a few accommodations. It's not like they won't be able to perform well or they won't be able to have the same kind of productivity. They can. Absolutely. So I think this would really help changing the mindset all across.
Absolutely. And Sabah, what I'd like to share is at Inclusive, there are a lot of people of determination who are qualified, who have that qualifications that require to fulfill, many job roles, but due to lack of accessibility or due to lack of experience, it really, really, hinders their input in an organization.
Definitely. So do you think this is because making a workplace accessible is expensive?
So Larissa is here. Larissa, do you want to join this?
Thank you. I dropped in because we also have some awesome panelists and some awesome attendees that would like to join and in the chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'd be happy to maybe switch the discussion, the nice discussion, into LinkedIn event, because I really like the awareness that you're trying to maybe share in a really cool way. And I think a lot of people and a lot of attendees would really benefit if they maybe ask questions and get maybe your input and your experience out of it, from organization to individuals to teams maybe that are just joining to brainstorm ideas. And I think I'll drop you again the LinkedIn event, and I think we can continue all the chat there. So this would be great for everyone. But of course, feel free to recap the talk.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what Sabah and I were trying to share was accessibility is something that is an ongoing process. It's a solution that is on a journey. When you start with one step, it always allows and welcomes to people of determination with multiple abilities.
Definitely. So to kind of summarize, I feel like we need to involve actual people of determination in the whole process of making the environment, whether it's online or offline, accessible, so that you're actually designing with rather than for people of determination. So I think working on that actual feedback continuously over time will make your product more and more accessible.
So Larissa, do we join the link that you have shared in the chat?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Saira and Sabah, for this awesome talk. And of course, please join the LinkedIn event, and everyone would be joining there and ideating and asking questions. And I think this would be really helpful to our community. And thank you so much once again, and thank you for the inclusive team and everyone. Now we will go to our last session, which is the discussion panel related to AI for accessibility and the role for startups. Now, Mr. Roberto will be the moderator, so maybe I'll introduce you quickly and you can introduce your team. So Mr. Roberto is the Managing Director of Microsoft for Startups in the Middle East and African region. So the floor is yours. You can start, and thank you everyone for staying until now.
Thank you, Larissa. It's always a pleasure to cross paths with Inclusive and the team at Inclusive. So thank you, Saira and Sabah, as well, for sharing what you're doing in the region. It's inspiring, and keep it up. We are here to support as well what you're doing. It's fantastic. So thank you, Larissa, and the organizers as well for inviting me and the team here. We have a panel now focusing more on AI, artificial intelligence for accessibility, but from the angle of startups. So first of all, allow me to introduce this fantastic panel, great founders, great entrepreneurs. I don't know where to start from, so I will just go clockwise from the top. So we have Mohammed Kilani. You are a co-founder of Mind Rockets. We have Nandujit, and finally I pronounced correctly, founder of Nexart. And we have the one and only Jose Rubinger, co-founder of Key2Enable. Maybe I will start, first of all, let's start from you guys. If you can share, what inspired you to build your startup, what you're currently doing, and then if you can share a little bit the story and what you do with your startup. Again, I would respect this order, so let's start with Mohammed.
Sure. So our startup was started actually by my co-founder when he was back in school. He was at 10th grade. From there, it was like 8 years ago, and it was inspired by his teacher. And this is where the role of a teacher is actually crucial. So just a simple message, he was telling him, no one is doing anything for the deaf community. This is something you should focus on. And he started working on it from that time, little bit by little bit through university. And then we met and we continue to work. Our main idea is to help organizations become deaf friendly, because this is something that most people don't know, is over 80% of the deaf community cannot actually read and write beyond the very basic level. So for them, if they go to a website and they see all this text, most of them above 80%, they cannot read it, they cannot understand it, because their mother language is sign language. And this is where our technology comes in. We made avatars that would translate text to sign language. So this is very briefly about what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Nandujit, I know that you have also a very nice story, because also maybe due to COVID, you pivoted from a glove, so hardware, to something else. So we are all ears to listen to your story as well.
So what happened for us was like, we had this thought, the visual recognition apps that are out there in the market. So it's not able to detect all the objects, because the models that you use for this visual recognition, it takes a lot of space. You need a lot of time to train them. So this is one of the biggest problems in visual recognition. So there was this one project that we started very early on when we were working for a client. So it was a very small project, but we stumbled on just one single thought. I mean, instead of trying to build this huge bundle, why not just break it down into micro bundles and put the whole labeling part onto a cloud? So basically the system, because if you imagine for yourself as an example, if you go into an Italian restaurant, so you already know the location that you can get from the maps. You're going to an Italian restaurant, so you know those keywords. You are going to an Italian restaurant, you know what the foods will be. So you already have those keywords. So why do we have to put them in one bundle? You can have them somewhere, and you can just have the app redirect to these micro bundles. What's necessary, get them, just discard the rest. So the app won't be slowed down. It will be able to detect a whole lot of objects. This was the core idea that we started with. And the first thing that came to our mind was this can actually help people with blindness, because it will be able to detect a whole lot of objects. And also, it will be kind of like the proof of our concept. So Jose also knows this. Like, we started with the app, then we also had a glove. So we had these features, everything built in as kind of like the proof of concept. The glove was able to judge the distance of these objects. So it was a hardware. Then we had an app. So it kind of had object detection. Then it was able to read the text, recognize objects, understand scenarios. So if the user picks up a book, the app is able to know, all right, and ask the person whether it needs to read the book or not. So it was kind of the whole thought. But then the COVID situation came about. And that was one of the things, like when we had this mentorship, some of the, our mentors who taught us like marketing is everything. And we were trying to market a product to an audience who was not able to actually see it. So it became a very hard problem that we needed to solve. The only way was have a word of mouth marketing so wide that people get to know about it. So what we did was we shifted from the hardware, because for the time being, it did not seem feasible. We focused on the app. Then we expanded the app, the solution, to a platform. So IWA is right now an AI platform where people can come in, like students, developers. They can come in, they can create their own data sets, they can train their own models. So we have put our app template up there, so they can download our app template, put those models in, and they can create their own app. So that's it. So on the side, they are also putting models on our platform, and we are using all those models for detection in the app that we have built for the people with blindness. And for the marketing side, what we did was, so as like you and me, like we have been students, so we always try to find the easiest way. So this is kind of like the end of a semester. So there are like a lot of projects that people want to do, students want to do, and they are trying to get an easy way out. We contacted one of the college. We got these amazing 10 guys. We offered them internship. They came in, they started working. They got some other students in, they started working. We did some few events with them and they got interested. So they basically started testing the platform, and that's how actually the whole pivoting started. And right now, IWA is a platform. So where this, right now, in a nutshell, IWA is a platform where students, developers can come in, they can create computer vision models. So we will be training it from our side for the time being, but we'll be automating that process. And we will be providing the templates as well. So where they can use our templates, or they can use their own code, and they can integrate our models to their code. And in between that, they're actually helping people with blindness as well, because whatever data sets they create is actually helping the app detect with more accuracy on the side. So the revenue model is from the platform, but the app is creating a social impact value as well on the other side. That's
yeah. This is fantastic, Nandajit. I mean, what we hear so far from Mohammed, Nandajit, is real examples as well of what entrepreneurship is about, right? So he's focusing on real problems, but also the resilience, perseverance, right? With COVID, the pivoting during hard situations, which is awesome. Also inspiring other people and listening to customers. So you're summarizing with your story, I mean, some of the pillars of what entrepreneurship is really about. So I'm just setting the stage to keep the bar high for Jose and tell us his story as well. So Jose, with Key to Enable, I know your story inside out, but you know, I don't know if the audience have seen some of the videos of the people you are helping. Tell us what inspired Key to Enable to start from, and how you are helping people of determination.
Yes, thank you so much, Roberto. Thank you so much, Microsoft, and thank you so much everything that is happening right now. And actually, I'm very happy because Nando and Inclusive, Hafsa, they were part of this beautiful program that was called the first social impact incubator here in the region. And that's why I came from Brazil to live here in the UAE. And as you said, we are perseverance, so I'm still here. And I had a great time with these guys, and we could talk a lot. We could understand each other's problems or each other's solutions, and it was very interesting. And I like to say that everybody knows us because of our solution. We call it Keyx. So it's a keyboard that enables people of determination, children with disabilities, people that usually cannot touch a regular keyboard to use the computer at all. But of course, this is only one part of the solution. So we have a lot of things. We have many accessories. We can make a person that can only blinks to use a computer at all, so they can use smartphones and everything like that. And we also have this educational platform, but as Nando did before, we created this. So before, we wanted to teach music to children because we knew that this could change a human being, but it was how do I say, it was in 2007. So we were very ahead at that time, and we had to do something different. So I had to pivot. Actually, in Brazil, we didn't know this word pivot yet. Now we know how and what it means. So that's how we started everything.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Jose. I mean, your stories are inspiring. Because it tells that, you know, accessibility might mean different things to different people. There are people that close their eyes, think about accessibility is, I don't know, design buildings and structures with accessibility in mind. There are other people that think about compliance standards. actually accessibility is great because it's about building for everyone, right? So I'm also honored to work for a company like Microsoft that really embeds this in the core values and principles of development. So when it comes to technology, one thing I'm curious about to start with, and then I have a couple of questions, but one thing that I'm curious about to learn from you is how do you leverage or include people of determination, people with disabilities in the development process of your product? So Jose, you started saying something, also Nandu, but maybe starting from Mohammed, how do you see that happening and how do you intentionally build for that?
Absolutely. So for us, this was a major milestone. At the beginning, you tend to start building something for what you expect to be the problem. But it is a whole different story when you get people on board with you who are actually facing these challenges and they guide the process. And not only by having them as users or expert users, but actually as being part of the building team. So we're always very proud. When we go to the team slide, we say, these are the three most important people. And we don't talk about me or Mahmoud. We talk about these people who are actually taking control because they drive the company spirit. And we learn a lot from them. And it is amazing. You know, you get into a completely new structure, a new culture, and you learn new things from people. So for us, three colleagues are deaf. They are actually responsible for the whole quality assurance, for review, for even teaching the machine, because sign language is a beautiful language, but it has its own structure. So if you say in sign language, if you are talking, you are saying the boy went to school, or in Arabic, let's say, ذهب الولد إلى المدرسة, it's different. It is signed differently. You start with boy went to school and you remove some part of it. So a single word might have multiple meanings. So they will look at the output, they will adjust it using the tools that we have created with them, and they will also have their part in the animation process. And it has been one of the major things that have driven us in the right path. So one thing, for example, our avatar will go on screen and it will have a background. The background color was gray. So I was thinking, it is an ugly color. Why put a gray background behind the avatar? Let's make it transparent. And we went into making it transparent. It took us maybe, my partner Mahmoud, he worked for another 4 or 5 days during holiday. We came up with a transparent background. When we went for the testing and we showed it to the deaf, they said, no, this is not good, because now if the background has different colors, the fingers will not be accurate. So they drive the development with their feedback, with their knowledge, and you become more humble as a student, as knowing that you cannot build it without them. So this is one thing from our experience, actually.
That's amazing. And you touch base on one thing that is common to hear when we work with startups, right, with entrepreneurs, is this concept of experimentation. And you mentioned testing. So this is very important, actually, to mention. And even also with people of determination, you know, you're keeping these principles, but actually you're making them part of this development process. Yeah. So Nandu, from your experience, how do you see, you know, involving them in including people in the process? And maybe also, as you mentioned, AI, there are a lot of consideration about ethical AI, right? So there is a lot of biases that comes when you develop the algorithms and the code. So how you are taking that into consideration to remove as much as possible bias from that?
Yeah, we had that problem while we were developing the app as well. So we had a similar experience, just like Mohammed. So what we did was we created a beta version of the app. And we got into touch with some of the organizations over here who help people with blindness. There are also schools who have people teaching over there. So we went and met them personally when there was a period where there was a break in between last year. So that was an opportunity for us. So we actually went and met a lot of people personally, talked to them, because there was a stereotype where, you know, they do not want to approach us. When we go and talk to them about new technology, they are not susceptible to that. They are like, no, we don't need this. So we have to tell them, we have to convince them, ask them to try it and then give their feedback. So what we wanted was to get their feedback. Eventually, we had around, I think, 72 people kind of forming a group. So we had people from Bangalore and the state here and outside as well. So people, many of the people actually, there were a lot of no's in that as well, but there was a lot of yeses as well. So the people who came in, who literally gave a lot of good feedback. I mean, they were like, no, you don't need that. You don't need that over there. You don't need that. You need this, you need this, and you need this. So this feedback actually helped us make the platform much better. And about this, the privacy. So what we did was inside the platform, the primary thing that we did was we created a kind of a relationship between these categories and the objects. We also created a different category which categorized the whole bundles into either personal bundles or just generic bundles or some product of some brand. So the personal bundles that are created in the platform are only accessible to the particular user. So that becomes the private property of that particular user. It's not shared by anybody else. Only those bundles which are created as generic or as a product in relation, only those are available to all the others. So that's how we answered that problem that we had. It was one of the biggest problems that we came up with. Everybody was asking that question, like, where is our privacy setting for this? So we said that through the app, only these bundles are accessible for this particular function. So all these private items that you have, it will remain private on the platform. And the feedback, that's really important, because from their perspective, a lot of things that we thought that it was required was not required, and a lot of things that we thought were not required, it was actually required. So it's that actually helped through the process, and it's a wonderful thing to speak to them again and again. So they give that in return.
That's great. I mean, great learning thing what you're saying. I mean, sometimes you learn more about yourself, looking through yourself through others, and also asking questions what we are not doing and not just what we are doing to make it better, right? So yeah. This is great. Jose, to you, same kind of questions, but I love what you're doing also, because I feel I learn what you're doing through stories of people, right? So it's not like the marketing stuff. Hey, meet this persona. I mean, there is real people. The videos that you are doing are great to really show what you're doing. So. How do you involve how do you get to involve the people, create that empathy, but also what impact do you envisage for Key to Enable in the future?
Okay, I like to tell stories.
Yeah, I know.
And as we started trying to teach children the music theory, so it was like a math thing, we were not expecting that children with disability would use it, because at that time we didn't have that much experience with that. So what made me do this change to everything was when we went to a rehabilitation center, because we were invited to try our solution with these children with disabilities. We found more than 200 children with many kinds of disabilities, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. It was like amazing. It was, I still can see that for so many years, because all of them were very interested. It doesn't matter if one was not talking, it doesn't matter if one was not walking, it doesn't matter what is the kind of disability that they had, but they were very interested and they engaged, and the sound came. So I decided that I had to do more about it. And the universe made me meet someone. His name is Gleison. He lives near our city there in Brazil. And he was born with cerebral palsy. And he was the one who graduated in computer science using a head pointer, something that you connect to the head to type in the keyboard. And together with him, we created the Keyx, or the concept. So he had the concept. He wanted to make something that he could use the computer without asking someone to hit the @ symbol for him. So he wanted more autonomy. And because he was involved in all of this, we knew how to build. We know the pain from inside. And then what happened was we went to many rehabilitation centers in the school, and we learned from all the students, the teachers, and the caretakers, and the people that were with them. So you asked me what we think about it. We have just launched another product, because when we go to the schools, we always see someone that is struggling to use technology, and then what we do, we go again to the lab. We are engineers, and then we create something, and then we come up with another solution. So we have just launched it in Brazil. It will come here to the region very soon. And this is what I have to tell. We have to create something for them, because if we do not do it, who will do?
No, that's amazing. And you know, one common element in your stories is that we are talking about AI and technology and AI for accessibility, but at the end of the day, technology is the means to an end, right? So what I take away from your stories is also that it all starts with people, humans, and observing and spending time with them and understanding the real needs, and you know, there is nothing really new under the sun here. So the other consideration is that there is also a business element to this. So we have recently shared a study done with the Accenture, where the study reveals that companies that embrace best practices for employing and supporting more people with disabilities in their workforce have outperformed their peers, whether in terms of revenues or net income or profit margins. So you know, it's also very important to embrace these, not just for a, you know, societal impact, which of and human you know, desire of helping others, but it's also for you know, for from a pure business perspective, there is a lot of value in that, right? So it's like if you don't design for accessibility, you're excluding a large segment of population that could be your customers, employees. And it's like saying 1/5 person that walks in your door, you're saying, I don't really want your business, right? So it's also important from that angle as well. With that, I have a final questions for all of you. If you can keep it short, we have still probably 6-7 minutes left. So given that you are involved into that, you invested and risked it, I mean, yourself, your time, and in building startups, right? That are trying to solve for real problems for including more people. What breakthrough you anticipate in the future that will support people of determination to have equitable access to society? I'll start with Mohammed, and then we'll go around.
This is a very tricky part. Talking about the future is always not easy, but I think one of the key challenges that creators of technology are facing is actually sustainability. And because, as you have said, you are mentioned, it needs a really big shift in the mindset itself. And we have noticed this as we grew in our company. So at first we started, okay, we want to create something that solves this problem, but this is not enough. The main element of the shift is how can you actually provide revenue from these technologies so it becomes sustainable and you can grow. And this is actually one of the big challenges. And for this, we need to think the other way around. I try to think about it as not only helping the deaf community, because they are also helping us, but also we are creating something like superpowers. We are making super companies. How? Is because for the first time in history, you have technologies that are giving superpowers for organizations to become accessible. For the first time, an organization can talk into so many different languages, to so many, with the click of a button. They can actually, a deaf person can understand what they are saying through sign language technologies. The same thing through text to speech. So this is the way I'd like to think about it, is that we are providing new superpowers for the organizations. And we need to clarify to the organizations, as you have said, there are studies that actually, and I have to go to a number here, you know, like 88% of consumers, they mentioned that they were more likely to buy from a company that supports and engages in activities to improve society. And another thing is it's all about perception. So we think that it is the reputation of the product, but it is not always the case. In reality, it is the reputation of the company that perceives the product. So in another study, it mentions that when you are when a person wants to decide whether to go and buy something, he will look for the reputation of the company, the brand of the company itself. 60% said they were affected by the company itself, whether you want to invest in it, you want to work in it, as you have said. So I think this is one area that we have to look at as companies in the future, and how can we add value not only to people with disabilities but also to organizations, and to make it more sustainable and move forward.
Awesome. Yeah, completely agree, Mohammed. Thank you. Nandu, Jose, anything you want to add to these questions, to this point?
I think the one point that we always see is that any solution that we try out in the market, everywhere at any point, everybody is looking to get value out of it. So if we just focus on one sector and then we forget about the other sector, we won't be able to get it sustainable. The core important part of building any solution to help anybody is we have to make it sustainable. At the end of the day, it has to be sustainable. So if there is a problem that, if making a product that can actually help somebody, but there is no way that we can actually make it sustainable in that sector, we have to expand our, the whole vision or the concept, and make sure that maybe if we can put this, the whole concept, maybe reshape it and put it in some other sector and drive value out of it, then that is helping one sector as well as getting value out of the other one as well. And we can actually market as well from that point. So solutions like that actually, I think, will work. And that's what we need to focus on, creating those solutions which can interlink sectors together.
Yeah, this is where you get also scale and sustainability, as you were saying, is very important. Yeah, thank you, Nando. And Jose, any last point you want to make?
Just adding to that, Nando is very right about it, because when we thought about the product, we thought about health tech, because we went to the rehabilitation center. So first we didn't think about education, but then we had to understand that education, that health tech, some assistive devices, they could be used to educate these children. So again, we had to move, from one category to the other, but again, they are together, connected. And something that you said about this universal design, we tried to do something that not only people of determination, people with disabilities could use. They actually, what is happening right now inside the schools that we are, is that kids without disabilities are helping their peers. And this is how it is working, and it's working very well, and we want to repeat this here in the region.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jose. So mindful of time, I will just wrap up, and then I will ask Larissa and the team if there is time for questions. But basically, we have heard from the words and the stories of Mohammed, of Nando, and Jose here, that accessibility is real, and that's a great takeaway. I mean, and accessibility can have a huge impact on our lives, because it's the lives of people of determination is also our lives. Accessibility is essential to enable transformative change around the world. And now more than ever, we need to make it a priority by ensuring that inclusion is woven into every single thing we do. We like it to say here that we want to build products that we build for everyone, right? So, and we used to say also that in the past you had to adapt to the world. In the future, the world will adapt to you, right? So, and working together with partners, customers, we can collectively use technology to unlock powerful solutions and design and build greater innovations for everyone. So I've been personally inspired by the panel session today. I hope you have been too. And Larissa, tell me, yeah, you're there. So let me know if we still have time, if there are questions.
Yes, thank you so much for this panel. It was really interesting, and we really need, all the organization needs really to build for everyone solutions, not just for specific people. And we really need to check the need of the user before we try to solve the solution. So thank you so much for this panel. I think let's maybe, if anyone has a question, let's go into the LinkedIn event, and there you can ideate, you can ask questions for experts, and we can support you to find teams to find AUB members, or also to maybe make sure that your idea would really maybe include artificial intelligence in it. So once again, I can tell you that you can check the AUB website in order to check all the requirements for the hackathon. You should also apply before June 4. And if you have any question, our team is here. You can drop us an email or send us a LinkedIn message, and we could support you. Thank you so much for all the panelists, and thank you for everyone and for the team for making this a success. And hopefully by the end of this month, we would check what our talent, maybe our region talent, would have for our users. Thank you so much. If anyone has any last maybe call, you can go ahead. Other than this, thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone.
And the meeting is recorded. You can also check it if you missed any session, you can go over it. So we will send it by email. Thank you, goodbye.
Awesome, thank you so much. Bye.
Goodbye, thank you for this
Bye-bye.
amazing event.
Thank you.